What's going on, everyone? This is Justin with Last Things Last podcast. Just looking at doing a small mock draft here. Figured that we would get started on some of this NFL content now that preseason is officially kicking off here today. I know that there was the Hall of Fame game with the Cowboys and Steelers, but the official, I guess, week one of preseason would be starting today. Moving forward here, we're going to be getting into a lot more content with mock drafts, how to kind of build your own fantasy team. We'll get into obviously the specific teams outside of fantasy, and how each of them are looking for the year. But figured that it would be something that's easy to kind of jump on here right now and go through a quick mock draft. I am picking from today the 12 spot. 12 is actually one of my favorite places to pick from here. Recently, I've been doing a ton of mock drafts, and 12 has been kind of a sweet spot for me here. I do like that turn. I feel like at 12 you can really get two guys right off the beginning, that are going to be quality starters for you. That could be, wide receiver one, running back ones. Obviously, is what you would hope. Um, I'm doing a mock draft here, so obviously there's going to be some auto drafting during it, I would assume. A lot of people do look like they're already in here. If you can see the screen up top, looks like all but two people are in right now. If you're listening uh, on our podcast platform, that's totally fine. This is going to be a little bit more of a YouTube medium, I would think. But what I'll do is I'll kind of go through and discuss a little bit of what's been picked before, who's being picked after, everything like that. The people that are on YouTube are already going to be able to see that. The people that aren't on YouTube are going to be able to at least kind of listen and engage to where I am in the draft, and you'll kind of know why I didn't pick certain players. But yeah, like I said, really excited to kind of get into mock draft season here. I've been doing a bunch of warm up mock drafts just to kind of see where everyone's falling. Um, it's been really cool to see when I've been drafting. I've drafted from every position.
Drafting.
Goodness, that is loud. Matthew Berry screaming in my ear here. Turn the sound off on that one there. There we go. But yes, so definitely would suggest doing mock drafts as much as you can. You get a really good feel for where players, tend to go. Now in your league, I'm sure that you'll have someone that's a little bit kind of out there with where they think certain players should go. They might pick a quarterback in round one and everything like that. So players might be there that you didn't expect to be there, but for the most part, it kind of gives you a gauge on where everyone's being drafted at. So far, picks 1 through 5, we have uh, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, chalk 1 and 2 picks. Three's where it gets interesting. You have, Henry Kamara, Zeke, Saquon, Kelsey. There's a lot of players out there that you could pick. They went with Derrick Henry, followed by Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb. I think it might have been a small reach on Nick Chubb there because he doesn't give a lot in the passing game, and this is a PPR draft. But to each their own, and just like that, just like I said, so seventh pick overall in the draft, Kyler Murray goes off the board. So not even Patrick Mahomes, um, you know, Josh Allen are players that I've seen go before Kyler Murray just in general. So the fact that Kyler Murray went 7 is actually great for us because now we have a lot of good players that we can kind of take a look at here moving forward. I think that really threw pick 8 for a loop. He's looking at it and kind of, you know, I think that probably changed what he was going to pick. Um, I'm hoping Saquon Barkley falls to me here, and looks like he picked Travis Kelsey. Saquon Barkley, gets picked at 9. All right, so 10, 11, and then my pick here. Left on the board, we have, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Taylor, Stephon Diggs, Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler. Um, are kind of like, that's probably where I would cut off as far as who I would pick here. Um, if Adams and Hill go right away, I have a strategy for that. If Yep, and Eckler got picked, so that changes my strategy a little bit here. Eckler goes 10, and then one more pick before we have ours here. and then we have basically an option. So Devontae Adams goes. So two options would be we could go Tyreek Hill and, maybe Aaron Jones back to back. We could do a zero running back strategy where we could just go Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs. So get two likely wide receiver ones. Wide receiver running back, it's a little bit dank later on in the draft, though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with Aaron Jones first. I do believe that Aaron Jones will have a really good year with Aaron Rodgers coming back officially. He's kind of a great all-around back. Jamal Williams is out of there now, so he only has to compete with one player for just A.J. Dillon for touches there in that offense. And then the question is, do you go Antonio Gibson? Do you go Najee Harris? Jonathan Taylor is still a possibility here, with Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson projected to go, projected to start here. I'm going to go. That's tough. It's tough. We're going to go with Tyreek Hill here. So we have our RB1 and our wide receiver one. Now that's a risky move. We could have done Jonathan Taylor. We could have done Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is always a good pick too in these drafts. So the 12 spot is good in some respects, but the thing that makes the 12 spot so tough is that you do always run into the top couple wide receivers still being on the board and some of the later RB1 still being left on the board. So it kind of depends on what strategy you're looking at there. The thing that really pushed me towards Tyreek Hill, though, is that I figured if I didn't pick a wide receiver, most of these that are on my screen, if you can see it here, most of these would be gone. And then who I would have left would be, maybe a Keenan Allen or Allen Robinson to be my wide receiver one. I've run into that a lot lately. Not as comfortable with it as I would be with maybe say a, Josh Jacobs, or a, Miles Sanders, Chris Carson, J.K. Dobbins being my RB2. So hoping that they'll end up there for my next picks here. I still have 14 picks till we get there, though. So after my pick, we had Jonathan Taylor go right off the board right after that. Not much thought there at all. Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Antonio Gibson, Najee Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So there's a little bit of a run on running backs there again. DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley. So now we're hitting that run on wide receivers. And that was what I was kind of concerned about, that there wouldn't be a ton of wide receiver ones left on the board for me once my pick came up. So I'm looking at it. AJ Brown goes next, continuing that run on wide receivers. And then David Montgomery goes off the board. So looking ahead here, got 11 picks left. I'm thinking Sanders, a lot of these players are going to be off the board. Let me look at running backs here. I'm thinking I'll likely be somewhere in if I can get J.K. Dobbins as my RB2, I'll be happy, or Chris Carson. If not, I'll probably wait a little bit longer, go for a Kareem Hunt or Travis Etienne. Not sure how sold I am on Javonte Williams, so I wouldn't pick him. Same with Chase Edmonds. I think there's too much of a running back by committee deal going on there with having James Conner there. So I don't think that I'll go for either of those. Myles Gaskin's interesting, but I don't think I would go with him either. So we'll see how many of these running backs fall to me. I might even go two running backs depending on kind of how the draft plays out. So Chris Carson goes next. So we have, since David Montgomery, we have Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, and Chris Carson off the board. Jeez. Interesting the way this draft is playing out here so far. But again, the beauty of the 12 pick is that you have that back-to-back pick at the turn. So I have, last pick in the third round, first pick in the fourth round. So I might be able to go, running back, wide receiver again. All right, Josh Jacobs gets pulled early here too. I've been seeing Miles Sanders fall a lot. I don't know. I feel like Miles Sanders doesn't have a ton of competition for his job. He's a good pass catching running back. Um, I think the Eagles are going to have to run more this season with Jalen Hurts. I know that Jalen Hurts, the only issue there is that he kind of could poach some carries, some touchdowns, maybe even from Miles Sanders. So maybe that's the thought there. But if he falls to pick 36, I'm happy to take him. And just like that, he goes off the board right away. Didn't think he would last that long anyway. So, all right. Keenan Allen goes next, and we only have 5 picks left. So we're going to start getting ready here. We know we want an RB2. We just don't want to reach for an RB2, though. So if J.K. Dobbins is still there, we'll take him. Otherwise, we'll probably wait and see if we can get ETN or Kareem Hunt later on in the draft. Got 3 picks left here. DeAndre Swift, I know that there was talk about him possibly turning over some touches to Jamal Williams too, which is probably scaring some people off as well. And the thing is, they're not going to be a good team. They're not going to be putting the ball on the ground as much, I wouldn't think. Oh, and the pick before me is Medina. My last name is Mandia. It's what everyone always mistakens my name for when I'm ordering things. Oh, and Darren Waller. That was going to be my secret pick there. Um, would have been great to have him there, but that's all right. So if we can get J.K. Dobbins the last one more pick, we're going to jinx it. I know it. I know it. Oh, no, we're good. All right, Kittle goes off the board too. So we are getting our guy here, J.K. Dobbins, as the second running back on our squad here. Then we're going to go back to all positions. We're going to kind of look at what the board has for us. We could get DeAndre Swift, have 3 good running backs. We could also get a very solid wide receiver 2. It kind of depends on who you think the wide receiver 2 or 1 is going to be in Dallas. If we think CD, Amari Cooper, Robert Woods is definitely good for PPR. Julio Jones, is there going to be enough to spread around though? We're going to go Robert Woods here. I think it's going to be a high passing offense. And while Robert Woods doesn't give you a lot of touchdown upside, he does give you a ton of target upside. And I think it's super important. I think Matthew Stafford with Darrell Henderson being kind of the lead back there, I think Matthew Stafford's going to have to throw a lot. And when he does, you're going to have Cooper Kupp, you're going to have Robert Woods being the 2 main guys on that squad to get targets. So I can definitely understand the reason that I stayed away from the Dallas receivers is I don't really know with CeeDee Lamb, with Amari Cooper, who's going to be that guy in Dallas and who's going to be the one left out. Cause they also have Michael Gallup to think about as well. I didn't go with Julio Jones because I think there's only so many targets to go around. I think he is a good wide receiver 2 pick. But there's only so many targets to go around when they're running the ball with Derrick Henry 25 times a game. If Tannehill's only throwing 15 to 20, AJ Brown's going to get some of those. Julio's definitely going to get some of those as well, but how much there's just kind of a limited target share there. And then the only other one that I would have thought about there would have been DJ Moore, who just went off. And again, he has Sam Darnold thrown to him. Was Sam Darnold bad because of being in New York, or was Sam Darnold bad because Sam Darnold's bad? Who's to say, right? So that's why I kind of strayed away from him. All good picks, though. I mean, I think you're happy with Amari Cooper. I think you're happy with CeeDee Lamb. I just think that Robert Woods probably has a lower floor, but he probably has a lower ceiling, but higher floor than a lot of those other guys. And I think that I do have the boomer bust potential already with Tyreek Hill. Didn't want to go boomer bust twice. This early, at least. So we have 13 picks here left until our pick. Since our draft pick with Robert Woods, Patrick Mahomes went right after us, followed by Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, DeAndre Swift, Chase Edmonds, and then Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore. So a lot of guys that I wouldn't necessarily have picked as my wide receiver 2. I I think that Thielen runs into kind of the same thing that that I said with the Dallas receivers. He has that Justin Jefferson thing to kind of poach targets from him. Dalvin Cook runs it a ton. He has Kirk Cousins throwing to him, so it's kind of, you know, boom or bust for Adam Thielen there, as far as target share goes. So DJ Moore, and then Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, Mark Andrews is the fourth tight end off the board. Fifth round, I don't know if I necessarily would go there when there's this many good wide receivers left on the board. But we'll look at his team and see what he had. Hodgins. Hodgkins. Whoops. So he has McCaffrey, Montgomery. He had Jefferson, Lockett, and then okay. So it was kind of, you know, filling out his roster there. I think you could still have gotten a really good flex of Deontay Johnson. Beckham as your wide receiver 3 isn't terrible. Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins. There's a lot of guys left on the board that maybe I would have taken, but to each their own. We'll go back to our team here. All right. Mark Andrews, then Josh Allen becomes the third quarterback to go off the board, followed by OBJ, Kenny Golladay, and Courtland Sutton. I have in all of my mocks exactly 0 stock in any of the Denver wide receivers, Sutton, Judy, anyone. Their quarterback situation is just so messed up there that I can't trust any of those guys to be my wide receiver 2. And then once you get to wide receiver 3s, you see Deontay Johnson just went off the board. I would have loved to have gotten him. Ayuk, any of the Bengals receivers, Cooper Kupp. You have a lot of good wide receiver 3 options here. So I don't think that I'd go with a Denver wide receiver until maybe my 4th wide receiver. And even then, it's risky. All right, so Jamar Chase Claypool. That messed me up there. Brandon Ayuk, Jamar Chase, and Chase Claypool go next. All right, we got 2 picks before us. Looking at it now, kind of upset I didn't go with some of those other receivers, knowing that Cooper Kupp was down here. Could have possibly got him, in my next set of picks, but we shall see. Nope, Cooper Kupp goes, and then it's me. All right, so Kareem Hunt and then Cooper Kupp. So I'm a little bit upset about that. I was definitely going to pick Kareem Hunt there as my 3rd running back. Looking here, we can either go T. Higgins. I think the Bengals are going to be throwing a lot. Jamar Chase just went. T. Higgins had a year last year. Michael Thomas, he's injured. I don't know if I necessarily want to take the risk on him here. And then Will Fuller, he's only suspended for the first game. He's a big, boomer bust playmaker as well. I think I'm going to go with T. Higgins. And then our second pick here, we're going to see what we have left as far as running back. So we have ETN. I like ETN here. We don't have another pick for 20-something picks. He's a good 3rd running back. It's a little bit of a reach. We could get Will Fuller as well, but you can only play 3 wide receivers in this deal. We'll go Travis Etienne. So we're going to take a chance on Etienne. Will Fuller's probably the correct pick there. But it's a mock draft. Etienne, possibly one running back 1 in Jacksonville, has that relationship with Trevor Lawrence already, pass catching back, kind of a do-it-all guy. I can really see him thriving in that offense. Will Fuller would have been a good pick too, though. Not exactly as much of a target guy, or PPR catch guy, but he's definitely a big yardage player, and you're going to win a lot of weeks because of Will Fuller. Again, felt like I already had one in Tyreek Hill. The T. Higgins thing, I'm looking back at myself now here. I'm kind of kicking myself, seeing I probably would have went Will Fuller there instead if I had to go back and do it, but you live and you learn. So after ETN, we had Michael Thomas go off the board again. He could be out for a couple weeks, could be out until midway through the season. They do have a bye week, I think week 6. So if he's he's injured and has 5 weeks to come back, they'll probably push it that extra week. So you might be missing out on him for half the season, and in that case, for fantasy playoffs, you're missing out on your wide receiver 3 for quite a long time. After that, we got Juju Smith-Schuster. We have Kyle Pitts, Will Fuller, Jerry Jeudy, TJ Hawkinson, Dak Prescott, and Logan Thomas, tight end out of for the Washington football team. So tight end position is starting to go off the board a little bit here. About as comfortable as I'm ready to go for, or as far as I'm willing to go for a tight end would probably be Irv Smith. I don't like Jonnu. I don't like Noah Fant. So I might target a tight end here. If they're not, off the board. Gesicki, though, is one that I think, I'm definitely comfortable picking here. Higbee's one so what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait on tight end. I don't like taking tight end too early, even though they are a player that has to start for you all the time. I do like getting a lot of depth at running back and at wide receiver, especially with my fantasy luck. My players always get injured, so I need to have good backups to backfill that space when inevitably Aaron Jones or Tyreek Hill goes down. It's like a running joke in our fantasy football league that if I pick a player, they are going to be injured for half, if not most of the year. So I apologize to the players that I've already picked. But it's very likely that you'll be injured this season. So after Logan Thomas, we have Lamar Jackson, Javonte Williams, Aaron Rodgers, Mike Davis, and Dallas Goedert going off the board here. Mike Davis is a pick that I've been seeing a lot that I really like. He's going to be the starter in Atlanta. That offense isn't going to be terrible. You have Kyle Pitts, you have Calvin Ridley, Matt Ryan's still there. So I think Mike Davis can be a good running back for them. We have Damian Harris here go next. So we're just going to go back to all positions and kind of see what we have left here. So quite a few wide receivers left. Let's go running back. Running back wise, I mean, we're not going to go James Robinson. Mostert is hurt a lot. Fournette's not really a pass catching deal. So, I mean, the next running back I would have went with would be like David Johnson, Melvin Gordon, something like that. Kenyon Drake. So there's a lot of good running backs maybe on my next turn. That's where kind of the depth is there. So right now the depth is all wide receivers. So I'm going to probably go 2 wide receivers here. And if he doesn't go off the boards, I'm going to go for Brandon Cooks first. The Brandon Cooks deal, the reason that I pick him is that regardless of who's throwing to him, whether it's Tyrod Taylor, whether it's Deshaun Watson, if he ends up staying, he's still the number 1 wide receiver in Houston's offense. It might not be a high-powered offense, but he's still the wide receiver 1. And if you can get the wide receiver 1 on any team in the 7th round of the draft, actually basically the 8th round, because I'm at the end of the 7th round, you pick him. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. So Mostert goes off the board. And like I said, we get Brandon Cooks. The thing is, we already have Tyreek Hill, Robert Woods, T. Higgins. We're likely going to be starting them regardless. So it doesn't really matter if he doesn't play at all for us, but he's a good insurance policy. If he starts blowing up, we have him on our bench here. So we're going to go Brandon Cooks. Next pick here. Again, we said running back. We're probably going to wait for a little bit here. So we will go to wide receiver. We have quite a few people to pick from. A lot of players that I like, but then we're starting to get further down the board here. I like Michael Gallup, Curtis Samuel. We're gonna try and go. We'll go Michael Gallup. I've had him on my bench in a few fantasy seasons, and he's actually basically won me some serious games. Yes, he's a clear number 3 wide receiver in the offense. However, Dak does seem to target him in big games. He's not going to win every week for you, but he's going to win a chunk of games for you with some of the stats that he has. Last year, he went 59 catches, 843, and 5 touchdowns. Nothing, mind blowing. But he definitely, had a decent season last game. He's definitely third in line. Won't argue that. Definitely third in line behind Amari Cooper and behind CeeDee Lamb. But if one of those two go down, Amari Cooper is always good for a couple missed games a year. If CeeDee Lamb goes down, then he immediately is in the number 2 wide receiver in an offense that's so potent. It's hard to pick against that. So after Michael Gallup, we had Antonio Brown, Melvin Gordon, James Conner, Laviska Shenault go off the board. The reason I didn't go with Marquise Brown because he's kind of way too boomer bust. Curtis Samuel, I'm not sure what he's really going to be in Washington. Devontae Smith, I'm an Eagles fan, but I don't see Jalen Hurts necessarily throwing to wide receivers, any specific wide receiver a ton. I don't think Devontae Smith is dominant this year, and he's also already dealing with an injury to his knee, so that's kind of something to keep an eye out for as well. But we're going to go out of Devontae Smith here. He just got picked, actually. So after Laviska Shenault, we had Marquise Brown, Jamal Williams, the backup running back in Detroit, Curtis Samuel, Devontae Smith go. We have 14 picks left here. Going to check on my tight ends. I still got some depth there at tight end. Again, like I said, I don't necessarily like Fant. I'd probably pick Tonyan, Gesicki, Irv Smith, maybe Evan Engram, Tyler Higbee, Eric Ebron if I wanted to go late. So there's still 4 tight ends that I'm looking at that I'd be happy to get and play every week. Running back wise, we're getting down to some quality backups. If I can, I'd love to get AJ Dillon here on my next turn. I know it'll probably be a little bit early, but just so that I have that insurance for if Aaron Jones goes down. I'd definitely like to have that. I don't know necessarily if I'll do the handcuffs for both if I go Gus Edwards as well. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I'll go Gus Edwards or not, but I'll definitely try to go AJ Dillon if I can. We'll go probably AJ Dillon and then best available player. My strategy always is to wait on quarterback. Defense and kicker are last 2 picks of the draft. And then I kind of keep an eye. I bounce back and forth. I normally pick a tight end anywhere between round, 9 and 13, depending on kind of what's happening with running backs. So our picks got all whacked out over here, but Noah Fant, Tom Brady, Robert Tonyan. So they're starting to hit those tight ends pretty hard. I might go Gesicki. I might go Gesicki and AJ Dillon. So I have the handcuff to Aaron Jones, and then I get a decent tight end. Hopefully Gesicki doesn't go off the board, but if he does, I'd probably wait on Ebron, honestly. Matthew Stafford goes off the board. I should probably look at quarterbacks here too. That'll be on my next turns here. So since Tom Brady, we had Tunyon, Corey Davis, Cole Beasley, Ryan Tannehill, Matthew Stafford, Jalen Waddle. Like those picks. I like Matthew Stafford here. Would have loved to have gotten Matthew Stafford. Um, oh, and Gesicki gets picked right before our pick. So we're going to go A.J. Dillon. We already kind of committed to that. We're going to look at tight end. We're going to wait on tight end. We're going to look at quarterback. And then we're going to look at all positions here. So it depends. Do we want a backup running back or backup wide receiver? I think we're going to go Jalen Hurts here. Yeah, we'll go Hurts. I think the thing with Hurts that I've picked him a couple times in drafts is that he falls down to this round 10, 11 range. When he does that, his running ability, I think, already automatically puts him somewhere in the top 12 to 15 quarterbacks in the league. So for fantasy purposes, I think that he's definitely, gets you the points that he needs to get you to make him worth a 10th round pick in this draft here. So we're definitely going to have to pick a tight end in the end of the 11th round here. I don't want Jonnu or Hunter Henry. They're two tight ends in a two tight end system with Cam Newton. I just don't trust it. Rob Gronkowski is just old, and he's off the board. There's a run on tight ends right now. Oh, is there ever a run on tight ends right now? Holy cow. All right. So since our pick here, I have to go all the way back up. Hurts. We had Zach Moss go off next, Mike Williams, Jalen Reagor, Marvin Jones Jr., David Johnson. It's a good pick. You get the RB1 of Houston in the 10th round. So again, that's something to look out for. Houston might be a bad team this year, but someone's got to get points for them. Someone's got to do something for them. David Johnson could very well be that. You get the RB1 in the 10th round. You got a kicker going in the 10th round. That's insane. Young-Ho Koo. You have Jonnu Smith, Ronald Jones, Kenyon Drake, T.Y. Hilton, Mecole Hardman, Devontae Parker, blah, 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 because we have to get to our pick here. All right, Gus Edwards gets poached right before our pick. So we are going to go with Eric Ebron first. He'll be our tight end. We're going to go back to all positions, and now we're just kind of filling out our roster. So we have everything here. Again, I don't pick defense or kicker until the last two picks of the draft. So we're going to look at some other possibilities here. I don't pick a backup quarterback either. We're going to go with Latavius Murray here. We'll kind of keep a handcuff for Alvin Kamara. Now, if Alvin Kamara goes down, Latavius Murray definitely jumps into the offense and probably ends up being in before J.K. Dobbins, or at least is our flex option. And if not, he's just a good bench stash to have. Good trade bait if we need it. So that's normally what I use my last couple bench picks for, are just going to be handcuffs for other starters, or if there's some value out there, then I'll definitely go for the value. A player that I've really been going for recently is late rounds, at least, is Tre'Quan Smith. The first couple weeks of the season, I think he's going to have some good weeks, basically because he's the only player, the only, starting wide receiver on that squad that has any type of name until Michael Thomas comes back. So I'll definitely go Tre'Quan Smith here. Next, we can either go Darrell Williams. So he's the number 2 behind Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We can go Darrynton Evans number 2 behind Derrick Henry, or we can go for, a Jamison Crowder, someone that's going to be on the field a little bit more, has more of a path to points. I'm going to tend to go to kind of keeping the handcuff deal here again. And I'm going to go with Darrell Williams. So now my bench might look light to some people. I like my bench. Travis Etienne. So basically, we have Aaron Jones and J.K. Dobbins as I'm running backs 1 and 2. So they'll be playing most every week. Travis Etienne is a good RB3, so I can put him into flex sometimes. I can even play him in place of one of the running backs at times, possibly. But I think he's a good RB2. Wide receiver wise, Tyreek Hill, Robert Woods, T. Higgins, they're going to be my plug and play guys. I'm going to play them every week. I have Brandon Cooks as kind of my 4th guy that I can definitely see getting some type of playing time. Michael Gallup and Traquan Smith are going to be kind of my flyers. And then I have handcuffs the rest of the bench, right? So I have AJ Dillon to handcuff my RB1. I have Latavius Murray to handcuff if the person that owns Alvin Kamara wants to trade with me, they can. If not, then I have him in case Kamara goes down. And then Darrell Williams in case Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes down. I'll tend to stream defenses for the most part. So as far as kicker goes, I normally try to pick the kicker first in the 15th round, and then the 16th round, I'll pick the defense. In this case, when you're picking 12, doesn't really matter. You have the turn. So I'll go with Jason Myers here. I think Seattle's offense is still going to be good this year. I think that he's going to have some opportunities to make some kicks. And then the last thing here, we have defense and special teams. I haven't done a ton of research on the schedules here. So I'm going to pick a random defense here for now. But basically, the strat is going to be that you pick there we go. You pick any defense, basically, right? Any defense at all. But basically what I normally will end up doing is I will pick a defense that has a good week 1 matchup that against a team that isn't really that good. And then I'll basically just plug and play, right? I'll go onto the free agent market every week and I'll stream defenses. So that's normally how I treat defense. I don't normally go too hard in getting a top 3-4 defense because you never know who can go down and who is going to end up being a good or bad defense, who's going to end up leading the league in turnovers and who's not. So I normally always try to go for a defense in the last round here. So for my whole team here, we have Aaron Jones, and we'll go to this actually. We have Jalen Hurts as our starting quarterback here. I like that pick. I think that he's good for a floor of points because of his rushing ability. He might get you 50, 60 yards a game on the ground. So his passing, he really only needs to get you 190 to 200 yards to be in kind of that average quarterback range. Aaron Jones, love him. Last year, rushed for over 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, was a pass catching back as well. Really, really like Aaron Jones there. He's strong on the goal line too. So happy with that pick. J.K. Dobbins had a great rookie year playing with Mark Ingram, playing with a couple of running backs, actually, Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards. So now that he is kind of in line for the number 1 RB spot there in Baltimore, I think that he gets a ton more touches and can, exceed his production from last year. So he'll be an RB2. Tyreek Hill, highest scoring offense in the league, 87 catches, almost 1,300 yards last year and 15 touchdowns. Like they have predicted here, he'll probably come back to earth a little bit in the touchdown category. But, I mean, even if he does end up with the stats that they're showing us here, the 95 receptions for almost 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns, you're very happy with that. Robert Woods, again, that's a pick that I was kind of iffy on, right? He's definitely a catch machine, not necessarily the touchdown machine. But I'll still kind of argue that I think that he's good for PPR, he's good for yardage, and then if he does get you a score, that's just an absolute, blessing there. So definitely a low ceiling wide receiver too, but I think that he's a good wide receiver too. Ebron, we picked him late, if you'll remember, tight end wise. I don't think that he's anything mind blowing, but I don't think that he's a terrible tight end. He does have some drop problems as we saw last year. And I think that he is going to have some competition here in the Steelers offense. They did get Fryermuth here last year, or in the draft rather, and he's going to have a competition there, I would assume. But I think that Ebron does bring something to the table where he can get you around 50 yards and maybe a touchdown every other week. And where we picked him, that's basically all you can ask for tight ends here. T. Higgins as my wide receiver 3. Again, he's in an offense with Jamar Chase, with Tyler Boyd. He's got Joe Mixon to compete with for touches. However, Joe Burrow coming back, I think it's going to be a very pass-heavy offense. I think that this offense is going to be asked to put up some points because I don't think the defense is that good. And if they have to keep throwing, he's going to get targets by proxy, basically. Had a really, really good rookie year. So big fan of T. Higgins there as a wide receiver 3. Now, and we'll skip defense and kicker there, if he doesn't end up working out as a wide receiver 3, we do have Brandin Cooks. Remember, Brandin Cooks, wide receiver 1 on the Houston Texans. We don't know who the heck their quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Deshaun Rubdown Watson? Is it going to be Tyrod Taylor? We have no clue. However, regardless of who it is, they have to throw the ball to someone. Brandin Cooks is the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. We got him round 10, I want to say. And to get the wide receiver 1 of any team in the NFL, don't care who it is, at round 10, you take it. If I could get Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy, I know at the beginning I had said I don't ever pick them. I don't have any stock in them. If they were still around round 10, I'm picking them because you have to throw to someone in those offenses regardless. So Brandin Cooks, I love that pick there to kind of fill in. Again, if any of my running backs go down, or even if I just want a flex option, I like Travis Etienne this year. I think that he's a great pass catching back. So he doesn't need a ton of touches to get a lot of production, right? So he can still run the ball. James Robinson can still be their RB1 in a sense that he might be their goal line back, but Travis Etienne is going to be their pass catching back, and he has that relationship with Trevor Lawrence. I think that he can really make a difference this year, and he's a good flyer to take. I think we took him in the 7th or 8th round here. Someone that we might be able to, get a ton of production out of. And if we do, and we have 2 RB2s on our team, that's huge. Going for Michael Gallup here, kind of an unexciting pick. Not happy or upset about this pick. Like we said, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, they're definitely the wide receiver 1s in this offense, or wide receiver 1 and 2 rather in this offense. If Amari Cooper goes down, which he tends to do, if CeeDee Lamb goes down for whatever reason, you have Michael Gallup to kind of fill in that role. You have the wide receiver 2 on one of the best offenses, or dare I say the best passing offense in the league. When Dak Prescott's healthy, you have him being the wide receiver 2. So I think that that's, self-explanatory. He should be in for a good year regardless, but definitely there if someone gets injured, he jumps in and kind of battles for my wide receiver 3 spot. The rest here, A.J. Dillon, I'm not putting him in my offense unless Aaron Jones misses time. If Aaron Jones goes down, he becomes my running back 1/2 right away. He goes into my lineup every day, or every Sunday rather. Latavius Murray, the exact same type of pick. He's not someone that I am going to put in my lineup ever unless Kamara goes down. If Kamara goes down, he probably slips into my RB2 or flex spot. Definitely a good insurance policy to have on my bench, and I could go ahead and try to trade him to the owner of Alvin Kamara in this league as well. Tre'Quan Smith, we go back-to-back Saints. Tre'Quan Smith, again, he's someone that I'm going to pick for what his value is going to be in maybe the first 5 to 6 weeks. I know that he might not be a big, great pick after the Saints bye, but before the Saints bye, he's going to be a big pick because they don't have any other wide receivers to throw to. And I think that offense is going to be a little bit better than we expect with Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill kind of manning that offense. Last pick that I did was Darrell Williams, another player that I'm not even going to think about starting unless Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes down. In the case that Helaire goes down, he immediately jumps into this offense. All of a sudden, he is the number one running back. Since Le'Veon Bell and Damian Williams are both gone, he steps in as the number one running back if Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes down. Edwards-Helaire, was injured last year. He's a smaller guy. There's a decent chance that he will have to miss some games again this year. If he does, we consider Darrell Williams to kind of fill in here, or we can package him into a trade as well, with the owner of Clyde Edwards-Helaire if they were looking for a handcuff there. So I'm looking for the team. So Alvin Kamara. If I were to trade Latavius Murray to this team, I'm looking at his bench. Do they have anyone that I would want? So they drafted 3 quarterbacks, so immediately they don't really have anyone I want on their bench. Yeah, no. Nope. Yeah, so I wouldn't trade with them at all. So I'll probably just hang on to Latavius Murray if I was in this league. There's no one on their bench that I want for Latavius Murray that I think Latavius Murray is better than everyone except for maybe Devontae Smith. I would trade straight up for Devontae Smith, and then I have that handcuff in case the Eagles all of a sudden go wild. Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith hookup is looking like as good as Devontae Smith and Mac Jones did last year in Alabama, then maybe. But other than that, I'm not trading anyone else or for anyone else on this squad. Let me see. Yeah, no. So yeah, I'm looking at my squad, like it. Don't love it. It might not be my favorite team that I've put together here. There are some holes. I definitely have a hole at tight end. I feel like my flex spot is a little bit weak. I don't love the T. Higgins pick there. The middle rounds are kind of where I'm still working out what to do. I like my late round picks. I know that they're not usable right away, but they're definitely good handcuffs. So just the mid round picks that I had are leaving something to be desired here. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to do a video here tomorrow rather, going over the RB zero RB strategy, and then another one that's going to do the zero wide receiver strategy. So basically we're going to wait until maybe round 5 or 6 to pick running backs, or round 5 or 6 to pick wide receivers. Just kind of mess around, see if you can get good value or where you can get good value with those. And then we'll get back to kind of just regular mock draft content. We'll also do some 10 team leagues, some 14 team leagues, and then obviously 12 team leagues. 12 teams are the ones that I'm in. So I like to practice with those the most. But we'll definitely get into some 10s. We'll get into some 14s just to kind of mess around a little bit. If you did like the video here, if you wouldn't mind putting a like on it, subscribing, we're going to be putting out NFL content every single day. Moving forward here until the NFL season, and even into the NFL season, I'm going to work on putting out at least, a short video a day. We're still kind of working on the logistics of that, but I'm definitely going to want a little bit more of a structure as far as maybe gambling content, and then also this kind of fantasy content as well. So if you like it, throw a like on here, subscribe on here so that you get the notifications. If you hit the bell as well, share with your friends. If you're listening to it on the podcast here, definitely check it out on our YouTube page, Last Things Last Sportscast YouTube page. It'll be up there as well. We'll get into some more football content. Football season's right around the corner. This week we have the Eagles and Steelers in a week 1 preseason game. So looking forward to that. I'm sure that we'll have some thoughts on that as well. So again, thanks for watching, and take care.